Today, regulators slapping JP Morgan, the biggest fine of its kind. It's for letting workers skirt federal rules. What's it for exactly? And the luxury industry is booming right now. Many reporting record sales. The biggest antique business in North America also had a good year and gives us some insight. And crypto-related scams have cost investors nearly $8 billion this year, much more than the year before. We have the details. That and much more coming up on NTD Business. Good evening. Great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. U.S. regulators are fining JP Morgan $200 million for not tracking what employees were discussing on encrypted messaging apps like WhatsApp. It's reportedly the largest fine of its kind. Brokers like JP Morgan must be able to produce communication records when asked. The SEC says this is to protect investors and market integrity. In the past, traders and salespeople talked on recorded phone lines. JP Morgan banned the use of modern apps for talking business, but didn't ensure the rules were followed. And shares of several buy now, pay later firms plummeted after a U.S. consumer watchdog launched a probe into the sector. It wants to know the product's risks. U.S.-based Affirm shares slightly down today after tumbling 11% Thursday. Australian companies Afterpay, Zip, and Sezzle also dropping Friday. Regulators are concerned consumers won't be able to pay back the debt, saying the consumer gets the product immediately, but gets the debt immediately too. A September survey found that 1/3 of U.S. consumers who use buy now, pay later services have fallen behind on one or more payments, and 72% of those said their credit score had fallen as a result. And Super Saturday, it's what the industry calls one of the biggest shopping days of the year, last weekend before Christmas. NTD's Phil Zoe spoke to some last-minute shoppers to see what they're getting.
Super Saturday is here. That's the last Saturday for shopping before Christmas.
I've heard of Black Friday and Cyber Monday. I've never heard of Super Saturday.
Stores and retailers are getting ready for last-minute shoppers, expecting 148 million shoppers online and in person. But that's lower than last year's estimate of 150 million shoppers on the same day during the pandemic.
I feel like I'm on time. I'm getting the gifts in time. They're coming in. I bought them early.
Gavin McDonald is in property management. He's happy spending hundreds of dollars for his little sister this holiday season.
And then I got her different beauty stuff. I got her some other clothes. I got her a couple of toys. So I tried to really go after it because I want to be there for my sister.
Colin O'Hara works in a restaurant and says this year he's also spending more on shopping, not less.
I have different responsibilities this year and I have to compensate for different people. So I have to, produce more money to get gifts for the more people that are important in my life.
Overall, the shoppers we spoke to are happy to be spending on people who matter most.
I've been away for a little bit, so I wanted to spend the money on my family because I haven't been there, so I want to make sure, they know that I'm thinking about them.
I would say 200, 400 category for my mom.
That's fantastic.
Phil Zoe, NTD News, New York.
We're joined by what USA Today once called one of the top 10 best toy stores in the world, Lark Toys in Minnesota. Miranda, great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Miranda, what are the big trends this year? What's Santa Claus bringing?
Around here, people are getting all sorts of nostalgic kinds of toys. We offer our own brand of toys, which I'm sitting in front of. So lots of those are going to homes and things like Jacks in the Box and puzzles and Slinkies and dolls.
Is this a big change from previous years? You think people are getting a little more nostalgic after everything we've come through?
Perhaps. I think in our toy store, we try to stock our shelves with really open-ended, creative, inspiring kinds of toys. And so people really seem to like that. And it's a good time for playing.
Are we seeing more kids in this store compared with last year? I'm sure they're excited when they come in.
Yeah, absolutely. We have lots of visitors still masking, but people are bringing their kids and allowing them to look around and see what they'd like.
Has it been more difficult this year to prepare the store and prepare your sales with all the supply chain problems and stuff we've had?
Yes, we have absolutely seen some issues throughout the year. We were grateful for our really good reps and vendors who told us early on that we should plan accordingly because some things were going to be really delayed. So we bought a diverse selection of things. We had to order extra and hope that we would get enough to fill our store.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there were some nervous parents, were there?
Oh, I suppose, although I think in this year, everyone is so grateful to be coming back into normalcy and to celebrate together that most people felt pretty creative and okay about what was available, just doing their best.
Very nice. Miranda, great Burlingame. Lark Toys in Minnesota, appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And luxury, it didn't just survive the pandemic, it's coming out stronger. Some businesses are reporting record sales this year. NTD's Evelyn Lee talked to North America's biggest antique store to get the inside scoop.
Demand for luxury is rising in the U.S. After Sotheby's predicted it will top $1 billion in sales for the first time, it actually sold a record-breaking $7.3 billion worth of art. For the biggest antique dealer in North America, business this year went similar. MS Rao made a name for itself in its 109 years of business. Now it counts Angelina Jolie, Brad Pitt, and Oprah Winfrey among its clients, among others.
I would have never guessed that 2021 would have been our best year by far. There's been a giant shift towards people wanting to own the very best.
Rao says that his business is booming for 3 reasons. First is that people are more comfortable buying online now. Christie's auction house, for instance, reports a 200% increase in the numbers of online sales this year. The second reason is the pandemic. With fewer travel possibilities and more time at home, people may feel encouraged to buy more.
And they're looking at a space on a wall saying, gee, a painting would look really great there. It becomes much better and much easier for them to pull the trigger. And so that's where I think the pandemic helped.
He also says with stock markets up, people now feel wealthier. While the definition for luxury has changed with millennials now making up a large chunk of the spending power, not much has changed for the antiques business. For Rao and his clients, it's still a hunt for something unique, something that tells a story. One of which was a painting by Winston Churchill, which is quite exciting that we bought, that had been sitting in somebody's home. Well, it had never ever been on the market. But that type of object of great pieces that we've been waiting for. The surge in asset values and cryptocurrency wealth made a big impact as well. Rao says known brands that are trusted are set to benefit. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And Wall Street finished the week lower today. The Dow fell 532 points, about 1.5%. S&P 500 lost 48 points, about 1%. And the Nasdaq dropping 11 points today. All 3 major indexes ending in the red for the week. And investors lost $7.7 billion worth of crypto this year to scams. That's up 80% on last year, according to a new report by blockchain analytics firm Chainalysis. The report says a big chunk of those losses were due to a type of scam called a rug pull. That's where the scammer or scammers build out what seems to be a legitimate crypto project and issue a new token. But after investors put their money in, the creators abandon the project and run off with the funds. Chainalysis says all in all, rug pulls cost victims more than $2.8 billion worth of crypto in 2021. Rug pull scams came to people's attention last month when a crypto inspired by Netflix drama Squid Game suddenly collapsed. The unknown creators of the coin took over $3 million, leaving investors with nothing. And Facebook owner Meta is calling out half a dozen private surveillance companies for hacking or other abuses. It's accusing them of collectively targeting about 50,000 people across Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Eve Johnson reports.
Meta is cracking down on so-called cyber mercenaries. On Thursday, the owner of Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp said it's banned 7 private surveillance companies from its platforms and suspended 1,500 related accounts, most of them fake. Among them, a European company called Cytrox and Israeli firms Cobwebs Technologies, and also Black Cube, which deployed spies on behalf of disgraced Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein. Meta said it sent alerts to 50,000 people, telling them they may have been targeted. The company accuses the 7 surveillance firms of hacking or using fake profiles to trick users into revealing private data. In a statement, Black Cube said it did not undertake any phishing or hacking, while Cobweb said it drew on open sources and that its products, quote, are not intrusive by any means. Other firms named could not be immediately reached for comment.
And despite all the global talk about shifting to green energy, coal usage is expected to hit a record high by the end of next year. The International Energy Agency says energy demand from the pandemic recovery has surpassed the shift to green energy. The main culprits, China and India. They account for 2/3 of the world's coal use. Both countries are also projecting rising energy demands. An electric truck maker Rivian saw its share price fall over 10% today. It announced its quarterly earnings for the first time since its IPO. They met expectations, but the company may miss production targets. NTD's Don Ma reports.
Rivian's first ever public earnings results came within its expectations. In a shareholder letter, it reported a quarterly operating loss of $776 million and a net loss of $1.2 billion, all on revenues of $1 million. Rivian shares hit a new low after announcing it would miss production targets by a few hundred vehicles.
Given the uncertainty within the supply chain, we've decided to carry higher inventory levels than previously assumed to help ensure we consistently have parts to build. The good news is we do not believe any of our supply chain challenges represent long-term systemic issues.
Dan Ives is a managing director at Wedbush Securities. Ives says Rivian may not hit profitability for another 4 or 5 years.
Coming out of the gates, deliveries was soft in terms of the forecast because of supply chain. And that's something with a lofty valuation investors didn't want to see. That's why the stock's under pressure. The long-term opportunity doesn't change for Rivian, but in the near term, that's a bit of a gut punch to the bulls.
Ives says EV sales may increase from 3% to 5% in 2022 and 10% by 2025. CEO RJ Scringe told investors that ramping up production is a really complex orchestra and that there are hundreds of suppliers providing thousands of parts. Don Ma, NTD News.
And amid labor shortages and rising material costs, many industries are looking to technology for some respite, even age-old industries. We're joined by Keith Veselka, manager of orchard operations with NWFM. Keith, great to see you. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Keith, you guys are using artificial intelligence to help manage your orchards. How does that work?
Well, we've partnered with Simios. They're a company deep into artificial intelligence and computer modeling to help us track codling moth. It's a pest in the Northwest. It's very detrimental to apples. And so you have to monitor the pest weekly, daily, nightly, actually. And over time, you develop these models. They're using computer-aided systems and visual recognition. And that information is given to my crop consultant, Greg Newman, and we make decisions on when to spray for the pest. And with the modeling, what it allows us to do over time is lessen our spraying, thus lessening our carbon footprint and costs.
How is that different from pre-artificial intelligence, from your perspective as a manager?
So yeah, the older methods, which are still kind of fairly modern, we do traps. We have these pheromones that attract the calling moth to these traps, and they get stuck on sticky paper, and it requires someone to go out and look at the traps, count first, and then know that that is a calling moth. There's different bugs that can get trapped in there. And so with the computer modeling and the AI, they can look at the trap and they can see, yeah, those are calling moth, tells you how many there are. I think it can tell you if they're male or female, all the cool stuff. That takes a lot of time, a lot of man hours, and labor is expensive, and it continues to go up over time. And so the AI is actually driving down our labor costs and increasing, I think, our ability to control the pests in the field.
What does that mean for your crop or your yield?
Well, anytime you can prevent cullage, which is, would be a sting. The cute little worm that's in the apple in the cartoons is not very attractive in the store at retail. So if we can prevent that from reaching the shelves and prevent it in the field, we can increase yields and increase orchard performance and return back to the farm.
You're an orchard manager, a man of the land. If we got ultra efficient or ultra productive, is there a danger for the land itself to be overdone?
I don't think so. I think there's a push towards sustainability, and I think when you think about a farmer, they don't plan to farm for 1 year. This land has been farmed for decades and centuries, if not. So we're the original kind of organic people. We want to be here year after year. And so we're putting in the effort to be sustainable, to lessen our footprint, to reduce our carbon footprint over time. And that continues every day.
Interesting. Keith Veselka, NWFM, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
And Kellogg's has reached a new tentative agreement with its striking workers. Could bring an end to the strike that began in October. Last week, the union rejected Kellogg's previous offer. The strike includes 4 plants in Michigan, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. The plants make all of Kellogg's well-known brands of cereal. The workers have been holding out partly because they believe the ongoing worker shortage gives them leverage in the talks. Workers have also said they deserve raises after keeping the plants running throughout the pandemic. The results of the contract vote are expected to be released Tuesday. And Fedex says the labor shortage costed almost $500 million last quarter. Even though the carrier's revenue was up nearly $3 billion to $23.5 billion, those $470 million in higher costs meant its adjusted income remained essentially unchanged. The costs were fueled by FedEx paying drivers and outside trucking companies more money to deliver packages. Company executives are optimistic, though. They say new perks like higher salaries and more flexibility for drivers are resulting in more applicants. And U.S. rating agencies are downgrading Chinese property giants, including Evergrande. We hear from a Chinese affairs analyst on what he thinks is coming up. NTD's Michael Corder has the details.
The S&P downgraded China's Evergrande to selective default on Friday because the company, which has more than $300 billion in liabilities, missed the debt payment deadline last week. Fitch has already downgraded the developer to restricted default. Another Chinese developer, Shimao, has also been downgraded by both Moody's and Fitch. Market watchers warn that the downgrades could trigger some creditors to demand immediate repayment, further pressuring these developers' liquidity. So what's Beijing's attitude? China affairs analyst Yiping Zhang thinks Beijing might not bail Evergrande out.
If the Evergrande has a huge ripple effect on the Chinese real estate and GDP, then Beijing will step in and help bail out. But at this moment, it seems unlikely because unless it jeopardizes the political stability, Beijing is not going to do anything about it.
Evergrande bondholders, including Marathon Asset Management, said they'll prioritize paying migrant workers and suppliers first, while offshore creditors would be near the bottom. However, Zhang thinks the opposite will happen.
And China does not want to jeopardize their reputation to have a poor investment environment. For now, FDI, foreign direct investment, is still a major factor for China's stability. financially, economically. Without FDI, China is going to be in a much worse situation.
Chinese developers are in trouble due to the regime's crackdown on borrowing. It has caused many defaults and credit rating downgrades among developers. But some people are still not losing faith. The Wall Street Journal cited investors who are optimistic about Asian junk bonds in 2022. Michael Quarter, NTD News.
With that, we're going to take a quick break, but still to come. Chipotle is trying out a new restaurant design. Are digital orders and drive-thrus the future for the chain? And the holiday travel rush begins. How are the numbers, and when does one airline think the busiest time will be? That and much more coming up on NTD Business.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. Before all this started, I had already written in my memoir, I dedicate this book to anyone that's looking for hope. Well, right now, we're all looking for hope. I believe that my story is going to bring inspiration and hope to everyone. By the time you're done reading my book, you will believe that with God, all things are possible. To thank you all for your support, I'm offering some of my best prices ever on MyPillow products, including this exclusive bundle. You get my book and these 5 MyPillows. They all have beautiful scenes and verses from the Bible, such as Isaiah 41:10. Do not fear, for I am with you. This 6-pack bundle is regularly $219. Now it's just $99.98 and free shipping with your promo code. Go to mypillow.com and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below. Thank you and God bless.
You are not just watching a performance. You are witnessing a culture reborn. Now, you'll see what the modern world has never seen. China, before communism. Shenyun 2021, live on stage. Get tickets now at shenyun.com.
Welcome back. Digital orders and drive-thrus are the future of Chipotle. Now, the fast casual chain is designing a restaurant to reflect that. It's soon opening a new location in Ohio that eliminates the dining room and in-person ordering. The new restaurant will require customers to order ahead through its app or website. It'll have a drive-thru, which it calls a Chipotle lane, along with a walk-up window for order pickups and a small patio section where customers can eat their meals. Around 10% of Chipotle's U.S. locations currently have a drive-thru. The company said these locations enjoy higher sales of about 15%. The upcoming Ohio location is also much smaller than a traditional restaurant, so the design costs less to fit into more urban areas where real estate is pricier. And Christmas is still more than a week away, but holiday air travel is already starting. The Transportation Security Administration says it screened over 2 million people Thursday. That's the highest number since December 5th. The TSA says a total of 20 to 21 million people will fly between December 23rd and January 3rd. United Airlines believes its busiest time will be between now and next Thursday. The company thinks it will fly more than 20% more passengers during the winter holiday season than it did during Thanksgiving, when air travel set pandemic-era records. And Santa Claus has been spotted in Japan wearing some unusual garb. He's spreading cheer to some fish. NTD's Andrew Thomas has the story.
Santa Claus is visiting Yokohama, Japan, and he's dressed up in rubber flippers instead of his usual leather boots to feed fish and spread Christmas cheer at a local aquarium. The Santa-dressed diver at Yokohama Hakejima Sea Paradise entertained about 30 visitors. He swam and fed krill to about 3,000 gruntfish in a massive tunnel-like tank. 27-year-old nurse Aika Obara visited the aquarium with her daughter.
I think it's a very novel idea to have a Santa Claus diver swim in a tank. It was fun.
The park has previously held similar events. According to organizers, this is the first time for the Santa diver to visit the tunnel tank. They say Santa will continue to make daily dives in the same tank until Christmas Day. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
That's the latest business updates for this week. You can still catch NTD Evening News with Evelyn Lee at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, it's all for this week. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.